is very aggressive on the CT side.
Yeah.
And it's super fun to watch. It was one of the maps we got to cast them at in the open qualifiers and the closed qualifiers. So coming into this one, I think we're in for fireworks. You know, we were talking about how this is kind of like the dessert, because obviously this is our last map. Personally, then Dinko and Moses are coming on. This is the game we were most looking forward to. Well, I think now we've just got a real banger on our hands.
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't informed your friends that there is a gigantic day of historic Counter-Strike going on, then go let them know right now. We're streaming on absolutely everything, so gather all your housemates and get them watching, because you're about to witness a banger. BetBoom versus Fnatic here on Anubis. Already there's some commotion down in the water as Chiron comes sprinting in, but bodyy lives up to his name and pummels him.
And he's playing around the pillar right now, and he's waiting for his teammates to show up behind. So well played. And unfortunately, on the side of BetBoom, it's spelling out demise. Only Siren and Nafani remain. Between the two of them, they have a Julie, or a pair of Julies, and Siren goes in, but he's going to get plucked out from QB, who shuts down both remaining players and gets Fnatic across the finish line to a 1-0 lead. And now BetBoom, they are going to go in for the force. It's quite interesting, Jackie, because a lot of teams on that second round on the CT side may hold fire. We're not seeing everybody force buy instantly as a knee-jerk reaction, but BetBoom decide, yes, we're going to go all in here.
Spend the money and play the strategy. And that's one of the things that I've noticed a lot as well with how they operate on this map. You can see there was a lot of time spent in terms of the way that they want to play when it comes down to that utility Vince on the CT side. They don't gamble stack as much in terms of just, all right, let's pick up the 5-7s, all play towards the bomb site, let's just push B main. It's a lot more thought out in terms of the utility usage and trying to burn it down to the bare minimum time left on the clock, then go for the play that they want to make. Will that work out in an environment like this, or how's the clash going to go? Always up in the air. I mean, a lot of money spent on this one as well. You've got the 5-7, scouts out on display. All right. Could be kind of tasty here, Vince. Do you like the fact we're getting a lot of MAC-10s brought to the table as well? Haven't seen that many of them today. It's mostly been Galils and a little bit of a UMP cameo. But Fnatic, when we saw them online, they love the max. They will run at you full speed, and it was working wonders for them. It's where Crims felt like he was able to play this sort of old school, very aggressive CS, and it lends to his strengths.
Exactly. That run and gun style is exactly the kind of aggression that was so fun to watch from Fnatic in the qualifiers, and I'm expecting to see a lot more of it here as well. And so for me, that tells, okay, guys, we're going to have a potential rush on our hands. Maybe they're going to go through mid and drop down into like the con area. Let's find out. I think spawns-wise, maybe favoring over onto the A side of the map more so. But let's have a look-see here with 8 seconds left. As you highlighted before, Jackie, with that scout though, I'm curious where Zorti's going to get aggressive, if he will. Does he go for like a main peak, perhaps?
What shenanigans will this man be up to? Okay, over towards Connector. Taking the fight down towards the canals. Wants to see if he can get an opener. Toes being displayed from Mattis, but no commit, Vince. Not going to go running on into the unknown. Meanwhile, outside of B main, the 5-7 does take a bit of a cheeky peek, so there's information, Vince, but none of the shots have actually connected yet. They haven't quite been able to grasp an opening play. And this is the real kick in the teeth, right? Mid-control now finally starts to be snatched away by Fnatic. You get mid-control, you open up the entire map on Anubis.
Oh, exactly, yeah. You have multiple facets and areas to punish in. Siren playing anti-flash, Nafani up close. Molotov, though, is going to real throw a wrench in the works of this one, and it forces Nafani out. Mattis will punish on Siren as well, and it's just all the way of Fnatic. This force buy yielding pretty much nothing in return, and I doubt that we'll see Zorti and Denists really try and go for this, or any real, even exit frags. They need to just save these weapons.
Can't afford to just throw them away for free. 5-7 up close, but no success. So the scout, being the big talking point of the round, is the only weapon that actually gets carried into the next if he can stay alive for a couple more seconds here. Crims is on the hunt with a Galil. Oh, he lands the tag, Vince. But it all gets a little bit awkward. Flash over the top to waste some time, calling for the backup, begging for the backup, hoping someone's going to arrive, but he handles it himself.
That's the thing with Crims, man. Sometimes he is the backup, that one-man army. And a fairly straightforward round as well. I mean, if you are Fnatic, you are loving every second of that. You have gone in with Mac 10s. It's not even a full investment. You know the CTs have gone all in. You've taken all 5 players down the process. You are on the fast track to a really solid start here in the half. And we discussed already, Jackie, about how MR12s and the CT economy currently, it can be such a cruel, cruel turn of events if you start poorly. That's the position that BetBoom find themselves in right now.
And it's a pain. Makes it feel like it's so hard to get a grasp on the game, get yourself into things. On this one, they've got a single flashbang as the only utility invested into, and they are gravitating quite heavily to a 5-man setup towards the A site. 2 of them lurking slightly further towards camera. Problem is, you give away the flashbang for free. It was in the hands of Nafany, and he's peeked into Crims. Gets picked up by Chiron. You're giving the game away a little bit. They do understand exactly where you are. And even then, Vince, if you pop flash and fight towards mid, the Mac 10 body should clean up. Oh, hello.
P250 to the dome. That's going to make short work of body at least. And they can trade up to a Mac 10. Even though Nafany may be down and out, he can watch the rest of the troops try and retrieve some kind of small success. In terms of the round itself, it's pretty much a done deal already. And now Matties with the spray, the flashbang is good to force him off the angle, but it's only a USP that goes up against him. Danist's down, but Zorti does return the favor. So really, whatever happens at this stage, this is a decent outcome for BetBoom. You've managed to take a couple weapons away from Fnatic. You've got some money in your back pocket. But it's all down to that next one where the pressure is truly on. Crims shuts out Zorti. No save for him.
Just Chiron as the last man left standing. Ideally, thinking hopefully someone might exit, come running towards middle. I can find a bit of a cheeky play to make. Nothing really to upgrade on or to save outside of this, but everyone exits together round through A main. They'll peace out, round will tick on by. Chiron's allowed to hold on to a Mac 10 and a flashbang at the very least. But obviously the money's there now, Vince. First few rounds out the way, this is where things start to change. This is where this man will get a little bit more vocal as well. The brains of the operation really obviously needing to bring his troops together. You can see the paperwork on the tables as well. Their strat book for Anubis laid out ahead of us.
Deep in thought as well, because they know the importance of this upcoming round. A lot can hinge off what happens in these next 2 or so minutes. As HEs and flashes are tossed out on both sides, jockeying for position over the main area. Molly's also tossed in. Chiron using that smoke as sanctuary, but it's all going to be Fnatic aggression. Zorti shuts it down and some solid counter frags tossed in as well. It's going to stop the T's from fully submerging the site. A good trade for BetBoom.
An opening pick that massively slows down the ebb and flow for Fnatic. And look at this setup as well. 2-player boost on the back of the bomb site. 3 CTs honed in position to defend towards B. Issue is the angles don't work well for the Peacon connector and they double up for 2. Bodyy slams his way through them, Vince, and has carved a path into the bomb site.
Man, that transfer on the second frag was so sick. And they needed that desperately to go in the favor of BetBoom. The CT's now in shock. And it's a direct path across to the site for the post plant. And there's realistically nothing they can really do on this A play now. I mean, I think BetBoom have to save again. They're in similar positions. It's deja vu. And it's off the back of that really crisp double spray from Bodyy. And this is a guy that's been around the French scene forever. You know, he's been passed up from other teams for skill issue, for skill differences in the past, but he's here and he's fragging, and that's so important.
Years of experience. Man's been all over the shop. Hell, I remember even one of my first casts in a studio back in like 2014, seeing him on LDLC White or LDLC Blue at the time. Man's on Cobblestone Vince, he goes flying in through drop down, finds 4 frags. It's like, all right, this guy's sick. Still around today, still doing similar things.
I think, I could be wrong on this, I would have to double check this, but I think Maniac may have played with him at some point as well in the same team. I seem to remember casting Maniac when he was playing with bodyy. That's how far back bodyy goes. That's the pedigree that this guy has. A real veteran, a journeyman of CSGO.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes back into the narrative we were talking about before, Jackie, about some of the new, some of the old, all jockeying for their spot in CS2's landscape.
And now's the time to do it, right? First ever major cycle. Whole new game, whole new era. Everyone likes to be first to things, Vince. Makes it feel a bit more special, right? So if they can hone in here, start it off with a nice couple of rounds, start to build that narrative that they can get themselves a win here and open things up 1-0 in the Swiss, and it's the dream scenario. Get a nice little replay of that one as well. body's highlight that completely caused so many issues for BetBoom. Rotating round towards B, thinking that they're all going to run in. Instead, they commit onto the A site, no room for the retake, and Fnatic find 4. T side right now, very favoured on Anubis, but you've got to win those rounds, and Fnatic are building themselves a good case for that.
Well, they've built themselves a fantastic foundation here on the T side. One that is looking rock solid. And it's down to BetBoom to get out the sledgehammers and try and knock away the pillars and slowly edge themselves back into this. The other problem is that because quite a few of these rounds have been clear-cut, you can already see the economy is so good. 8,000 on Afro, just shy of that for QB, 5,000 on bodyy, and that's before the end of this round. And Zorti, not for the first time, is going to get tested, but gets Molotov'd out of position. Molly's on the back of the site as well. There's no safety net for him. Has to throw the smoke just to keep himself alive. And now Siren picks up that M4. Going to try and put it to use. Chaos, carnage in amongst the smoke. But it's going to be going the way of the CTs for the time being. But down goes Siren. Now Zorti has to pull off a masterful hold.
Only good for the first. The rest of the dominoes begin to fall, Vince, and the AWPer cannot save them from the grave. Grave mistakes, though, as it all goes wrong. Fnatic, they were thriving in the chaos until Chiron himself turns up and smites them down. You can see him starting to erupt as well, Vince. He's a vocal player. He's an energetic player. You give him an opportunity like that, he's going to snatch it and start giving it more and more. He's going to get that confidence and start fighting you into these rounds. Look at him. They
needed somebody like that. They needed a fire to be lit underneath them because it was so flat. Up until that point, it was all Fnatic. They were dictating the pace of the rounds. They were taking the fights where they wanted. That's the kind of moment that can get a team back into this and really fire them up. If you can't get inspired from a play like that, then BetBoom deserve to just bow out of this game. Like, you've got to take some initiative now, and that's exactly what Siren's gone for. Fast, aggressive peak shuts down Crims.
And suddenly Fnatic going from feeling untouchable, feeling like they can take all the time in the world to set up these plays, realize it's not that easy anymore. Now they're not holding, they're fighting. They're taking the peaks to you. Zorte, though, he can lie in wait. Strikes, and this time he's spot on with the scope as Matties is slain. Afro watching and holding through camera, expecting the rotate out for the CTs on a bomb site. You've got a lot of map control towards middle, sure, but where do you go from this? That's the big question. It's all about the game plan. And you've got to fight for this now. Utility used to try and force them off the angles. Meanwhile, timing on this as Nafany's rotating. He's going to be caught between a bit of a rough spot here, Vince, as they group up and set their focus on going through Temple and back towards the bomb site. They wanted to face both angles at the same time, but they give themselves up for free.
Ooh, nice flick from Afro, though. A round win by itself, not necessarily required to have reverberating consequences, but keeping multiple left for the CTs is good enough. And now that confidence has a chance to continue to grow, a chance to be incubated and warmed up. 4-2 the score, but BetBoom is suddenly in with a chance.
And the whole demeanor of the team's changed. You see in a way now, Nafany himself being far more vocal. Chiron as well, it went from kind of where he's there, he's present, but he's not really himself. He's not loud. He is always someone that you see very hyped up. He's a very energetic guy, Vince. And again, in that situation now, he's kind of on. The fist bumps are coming out. Everyone's a lot more proactive and wanting to go for fights. And this is where for Fnatic, suddenly things have to change a little bit. You realize, okay, our money's not in the best spot. Can't really go for these slower rounds anymore. We've got to scrap a little bit. And can you do it just with the Tech 9s, Vince? Can you find those upset rounds? Or how many could BetBoom take on a spree? For Afro as well, it's a round you've got to shake off. Guy had 2 sick AWP shots. Almost finds the third as well. Pre-fire ready on the connector player, but couldn't get it. Okay, fast play called, Vince. They want to go for basically the BetBoom take round towards the A side, where you go barreling in with a utility towards camera to block off the angle, but Siren holds strong.
body's managed to negate that Molotov though, but does he realize that Nafany's at the back of the site? He does! Nafany not able to do anything in return, and the Galil ripping through all 35 of its bullets in the magazine. Now replenished up from the A1S, bodyy tickling the bomb, trying to draw out the CTs from their hidey holes up in heaven. But nothing forthcoming as of yet. They have so much utility though, Jackie. Like half of the fight here, really, Fnatic, is to get the bomb down, and after that point, there's tons of grenades going to be finding their way towards them.
And the offensive utility can do so much here. You can bank it off the walls and absolutely ruin the players back towards the bomb site. Afro has to be the game changer on this angle. He's playing on the lip of the smoke, but it's a panic spam rather than the clean connection. Bodyy, he stayed on the bomb site, sat inside of the smoke. Oh, if he can play this right, Vince, there's a timeline where it could be absolutely massive. Issue is he's looking for the backstab while Zorte lurks towards heaven, spots the head and shuts him down. A third round secured for BetBoom. Closer than they probably would have wanted it to go, but a round nonetheless.
You can see as well, Chiron and Nafany just having a conversation. Like, they're so animated, they're so enthused right now. And Chiron has been a centerpiece of these last 3 rounds. Obviously, that double spray and a triple kill a couple rounds ago. Even in these last 2 rounds, he's got kills, he's had impact. So he is a proper spearhead of this comeback. Fnatic, though, they managed to get a bomb plant down and some kills with basically 1 Galil and a bunch of Tech 9s. Now they get a chance to do it again with an open AKs.
And Afro, he seems to realize as well they've been taking a lot of aggression towards B main early, so he just goes contact, pre-scoped all the way back. So they have no idea of this audio cue. Ready for the jump spot, hits the mark. If he clears jail as well, they should be good on entry. But they don't commit, Vince. This is cool. You've actually got the opening pick here. No rush. Don't overextend your lead. Play off the back of the trades. They can wrap around. They've left the bomb towards spawn. Few bits of nades. Baiting out a rotate towards B as well. BetBoom going to be scratching their heads right now.
Oh, then he gets the pick on Zorte, who had the angle. And bodyy comes in, gets shut down. There's QB though for the return frag and mid-control established by Fnatic. May have more players to contend with, but Nafany takes that smoke off the head. Pretty sure they would have heard that as well. They know he's here, and Afro goes hunting alongside QB. And now Chiron, we know he's loud, we know he's enthused, we know he's feeling it right now. But does he have enough gas in the tank to clutch a 1-on-4? He has the element of surprise. They're not sure as to his current position. He was waiting for the timing peak, and when it didn't come through, he has to just tap out. And you know every fiber of his being wants to go for this clutch, but he has to think about the bigger picture.
He's that kind of player. He's that kind of player, Vince. Even if you try and drag him out, he'll go straight back in. Makes the heads up call, though, realizing the ship has sunk on this one. And Fnatic do get a 5th. So the game is afoot now. Both teams seem to be actually contesting against one another. Another round where Afro looks really decisive as well. It's a free K for him. Smart read on the opener. Went for the contact peek on B. Keeps finding impact as well. And if Afro's playing well, that's a huge boon for this team, Vince. We saw that happening a lot on the online games that we covered with them. Feels like Afro can be on another level when he's popping off.
Also, just the wherewithal, the experience to be dry peeking, anticipating that jump spot angle, similar to like an overpass when you jump spot the box. knowing the angle, knowing the timing of it. As you say, pre-scoping in, not to give anything away. So nice to watch. Really crisp movement. And wouldn't you know it, he's going for it again.
It's the second time we've seen BetBoom go for this boost. Fnatic did not see it the first time though, so they're unaware. And it pays off. The unorthodox angle catches them off guard and they slay the AWPer. Ooh, Matty's playing around the edge of the smoke on that one. It was looking like he wanted to try and really poke the bear towards connector. Meanwhile, a bit of pressure added on middle. They're looking to fight back towards bottom connector with this. Nafany and Chiron pushing in. Oh, he's crisped right now, Vince. Chiron's looking like he could really start to cause some issues in this round.
It makes me think if he's this powerful and this efficient when it comes to the CT aggression, imagine what he's going to be like when the roles reverse and he gets unleashed on T side. That could be a real pain in the backside for Fnatic, but they're still in with a chance in this round. bodyy though misses his chance, and so will QB as Zorti punishes him. Chiron with 2 in the round to move up to 8. And he continues to be a real problem on the side of Fnatic.
You can see what we're talking about there. The vocalization from this team. It feels like everyone's chiming in. Everyone's able to sort of keep the comms going, keep things moving along. And especially in this sort of environment, Vince, that can be such a big boon for you. If someone goes quiet, best possible solution, get everyone talking, get everyone back in the zone. And the whole game's changed since we saw that turn. Only 1 round of difference between them now. Crims, okay. Give us something to get kind of excited about, right? We were setting that storyline because online he was an absolute demon. He was back to his old school cool. He's taking fights, he's taking names, Vince. I'd like to see him getting a bit more aggro. And aggression's what we're getting, but it's bodyy that causes issues at middle.
And body's been a beast so far. 11 kills to his name. Manny's in the meanwhile watching for the flank, gets 1. And there is Chiron again. On point, on spot to deliver. Dennis just ignoring the bullets coming towards him, pushes the smoke regardless, but Fnatic have a commanding post-plant position. 4 healthy players. Bit of utility as well, a couple of flashes to play off, and BetBoom with a very low Zorti. It is looking like another save. Fnatic have brute forced their way in, mainly off the back of body's entry frag through on mid, around the cam position. And BetBoom can do little but hold on. And the thing is though with Anubis, I mean, normally you'd think, right, 6-4 Fnatic, really solid start here. This is looking very, very good. Anubis kind of map where it can be pretty damn difficult for the CTs to get established. So I'm thinking BetBoom are pretty happy so far with how things are going.
And they've got a lot in their playbook on their T side, Vince. Yeah. In terms of the strategy they can normally pull out, there's a lot for them to work with. You know, you can see that they've done their homework in terms of adapting and adding more and more with some of the newer tricks you can do with utility coming into CS2. So yeah, I mean, right now, you know, you look at it objectively, if it's not the most, it's basically the most T-sided map in the pool, especially if you can play to your strengths on it. So for him to keep it this close and still have a timeline here where maybe you can get a 5-7, potentially a 6-6 out of it at the end of the half, will put you in a good position to leapfrog going into the second. Obviously a bit of a shabby buy in a few places, but this is one way to operate around it. Zorte with a boost, playing on the gap of the smoke, finds the initial P because body's slain, but look at the damage done, Vince. Tons of chip damage back onto him.
Yeah, Matty's feeling the same effects though, as he will go down as Siren with that USP gets aggressive. Traded back from Afro, but Zorti is still alive on a measly 12 HP, but they're going for the information play. They're going for the flank. Shadow around the corner. Still Zorti comes out second best. And it's that man, the Swede himself, Crims, that will put them into an advantageous position. Danist's and Chiron's positions, though, do they have a read of the situation? They do. Afro's watching the back. And although Chiron may have got 1, he gets spotted and fragged down for Fnatic 7th.
It's rough as well for Chiron. Crims down to about 10 HP on the repeat. Chiron quick switched, going to his knife, thinking there wasn't going to be another player that would instantly peek and go for the fight. He wanted to try and cross and then reassess the situation from a different angle. Instead, Crims peeks into him and is able to find success on that one. Could have got a little bit hairy. Fnatic celebrating. A 7th round then. Will it be a 5th for BetBoom or an 8th for the Fnatic T-side debut here at the PGL RMRs. Zorte eating damage on this one, Vince. He goes down quickly. And Afro, innovative peek. He's seen the elbow. He knows he's close.
Yeah, and even though he missed the shot, he calls the information to his teammates, and they just run and gun Nafani down. He had no chance. Kyron again aggressive through the canals. But Crims is watching the peek. Timing is everything, and it's Crims on that wide swing. Shutting out Kyron. Siren was a dead man regardless, and Fnatic will lead 8-4 come the second half. With bodyy of 12 kills and 1,400 damage done. He's averaging on over 100 ADR.
Boy, oh boy. Slow start for BetBoom in the initial rounds. Kyron, he was the sleeping giant that woke up the team. Things changed after that round. He popped off with the 3K. Everyone started to get a lot more vocal. Since then, we've seen a very back and forth game. Fnatic still leading with a fair few rounds of buffer. But at least get a bit of a level playing field, Vince. This is where we can have that twist in the second half. BetBoom move to the T side. And we get our second pistol. And of course, the big kicker as well. The difference, something we don't see all too often these days. No extended pause in the halftime. So momentum, it can either be a blessing or an absolute curse.
Have to find out which is which. As BetBoom now have the initiative put on their shoulders. Can you aggress successfully in this pistol? If the answer is no, you're in real trouble. Nafani already taking damage. That is a rough spray from Zorte, and he gets punished by bodyy. At least gets one beforehand. Crims pivots around, gets one of his own, as Kyron stuck in the con, jump spotted from Crims, and shut down, swatted down from the Swede. And although Siren may have done a bit of damage there on his first peak, he's got 4 players to face off against, and he doesn't even have any flashes or grenades to try and cordon off one of these areas. He's being swept in, he's being flanked in the meanwhile from bodyy. And the way he's been playing, you wouldn't put it against him to just one-tap him with those dualies, but it's not required, as Matty shows his hand first, and Fnatic secure their second pistol.
Right, worst case scenario is what we're looking at then. For BetBoom, you now face the fact that you've lost the second half pistol, and that Fnatic can clamber quite quickly, Vince, to being 1 or 2 rounds away from shutting down this best of 1. And that's the pain. That's the pain. That second half that you feel in MR12. If you have a rough start like that, it can be over before it even starts for you. You don't really have the money to do anything about it either. You got to hope that you can weather the storm, play from 10 and get back into it. For Fnatic, the investment is mostly FAMAS's, 3 of them to be precise. QB opts for the M4, and Crims just needs a set of the Wild West pistols. Just 2 dualies in his hands.
Taking it slow to kick things off down the canals, headed towards Connector. Now that man QB is laid in wait, smoke down. If Zorte feels like it, I doubt that smoke's going to do much to him stalling that peak, but they decide better of their options. And it's another one of those situations where, because of the heavy investment into FAMAS's and the M4A1S, there is a lack of utility, and already some of that's been depleted. You have no incendiaries left, 1 smoke, 2 HEs, and a flashbang. So if they can pick the right angles and rush together as a united force, this could get a little bit sticky on the side of Fnatic. And any lost weapons, barring Crims, they're actually worth quite a lot at this stage of the game. There's no MP9s or anything else that you can throw away and say it's not that much of a big deal. But it's bodyy that continues to lay waste to BetBoom with another 2K in this round.
Doing it cleanly was the aim of the game.
Full right now, let's do Falcons, boys, and fuck them, okay?
The classic comms, Vince. Dream scenario, though. Not forcing out the rebuys, not making any awkward mistakes that lead them into a bit of a nosedive. Instead, you're going to have the cash in the bank starting to build. You can keep the bonus weapons going into the next. And the pressure really is on for BetBoom. This is where it's up to them to prove that they can still fight back into the game. Find some sort of crowbar to crack open a round, and then don't drop any of them. They need 6 on the trot to equalize now.
Yeah, and this BetBoom team is a team that still needs to prove to quite a few people that they are at this kind of level. Nafani in the past has been the likes of Cloud9. He's had his moments in the sun, his moments at the top tier of Counter-Strike. Zorti, Siren, Kyron, these are all guys that are trying to pit themselves against the best in the world and deliver. And so if you get slaughtered 13-4 here, doesn't paint a very pretty picture at all about your endeavors for this RMR. So they got a point to prove here, Jackie, and they've got the rifles, they've got the weapons to do the talking for them, and that's exactly what Kyron does.
This gets really awkward now as well because Siren's actually got ahead. Crims ain't going to expect this. He thought Mattis had it covered, Vince, and suddenly everything's gone wrong. It's a landslide where Fnatic are slipping down and Afro and bodyy are the only two that are left alive. Sure, they can somewhat cut off the rotations in terms of having connector and close mid covered, but the T's have got control of the bomb site. And in reality, you're thinking about holding on to what you've got rather than fighting them. Two-player peek in the canals. Afro still hits the shot.
That's a nice shot as well. Didn't land the flick, but that would have been a hell of a follow-up frag if he connected that one. But to readjust, obviously, he was anticipating. We already know from Afro's positioning in that first half, like watching the jump peak angle, this guy knows all of the sweaty angles on this map, no doubt, but still a really solid shot there as he moves on to 9. bodyy 16 and 7. Not really the player you're looking at to do the heavy lifting on this team. One of the brains behind the operation, but it will be a case of BetBoom. We discussed coming into the round, it's so important they prove a point, they send a message. They've done just that. That was a clean round. Yes, there was a couple of mishaps on Fnatic, but it was very nice entry fragging there across the side of BetBoom as a timeout has been called.
BetBoom using this to assess the situation. Obviously, you need 5 rounds to play with. Interesting as well, man. You don't see it too often, but Zorti, he's got the long sleeve on under the jersey. I couldn't handle it. I feel like my hands would have too much friction, man. The long sleeves aren't for me. It just doesn't work, Vince.
I agree completely. You can see he's rolled up his sleeve at least.
He's got the half roll.
Yeah, so it's not rubbing against the mouse pad. That's the worst. Because I feel like with mouse, you need it to be as precise and consistent as possible. And when you have the extra fabric there, it just kind of adds a little bit more.
Freaks you right out.
It does.
Much like this round did for Fnatic as well. A lot of weird small intricacies in terms of the timing and the positioning that made that one play out the way it did. Obviously not really going to happen again in terms of the spacing on that, but it was uncomfortable for Fnatic in the present. We'll set our focus on where we are right now though, and that's watching Nafany absolutely barrel it through middle. All right, Vince, he's taking a bit of a pep in his step on this one. The Galil's done a ton of damage and body's had to give up most of mid. It's open right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They used a lot of grenades and smokes flashes to get this position, but the mid control is so vitally important on a map like Anubis. It funnels away the CTs. You can see they're very claustrophobically trying to get some information for themselves. They don't want to just be reactive in this round. They want to start to be proactive. And Afro, watching the back of Crims, will be rewarded in kind as Siren sent packing. Molly tossed in to the opener of B on this main side. Damage done. They would have heard the feet being singed and barbecued, and if not, the warning shots would have given it all away. And now Mattis comes in with 2 for mass kills, and that could have just secured this round.
Zorti, he fights back towards connector, but he's only good for 1, and now it's down to the brains of the operation to serve up success in a 1 versus 4 clutch. And he's scared, Vince. He's paranoid about the potential backstab that could be coming his way, but it's CT, B main and connector he needs to be thinking about. Dives his way through the smoke, being peppered with bullets. Afro's jumped on the bomb and he's zoned out. The round's gone.
Round is over. At least the post plant, though, will afford them the luxury of another very solid buy come this, the 17th round. But they are running out of time. They're running out of lifelines. And Fnatic, it was pretty much the body show in that first half. Now we're seeing Afro really show what he's capable of. Mattis with a really important double spray with that FAMAS. And QB also dipping in for some kills. Crim's been a bit quiet. Hasn't been needed.
And you can't help but feel like some of these rounds as well are BetBoom just entirely losing their grip, a little bit overzealous on some of the peaks. And it's all gone A bit wrong for them. Zorte doing his best Afro impression on this one. Pre-scope, peeking in towards B main early. Eats the nade though. Afro knows all too well how they're playing this. And they've bombarded them back, making it look so uncomfortable for the T's to try and utilize this AWP to get an opening frag on the board.
Yeah, doing such a good job with this utility of keeping BetBoom at arm's reach. Not allowing them to close the gap and get comfortable. And Matty's just peppers Sorty through the smoke. From bad to worse, as QB goes in for more, Matty shuts it down, eviscerating this push. And Danis and Kyron, like, what can you feasibly do? Danis is at a shocker. Oh no. Not like this.
That's a bad miss. And then it all goes wrong. Oh, Vince. Man, I don't know. I feel like we're the waiter and, you know, everyone's come to the restaurant. They've said, hey, have you got a dish that you'd recommend? And we're like, oh, yes, sir. We've got the BetBoom Fnatic. It's a bit of a staple around these parts. Very delicious. It goes down a treat. Normally quite a meaty dish. Goes on for a while. Instead, we've given them a sausage and they don't enjoy it, Vince. It doesn't taste very good at the minute. As Fnatic, they're the one just running away with this. There's no potatoes. There's no fight back at the minute from BetBoom. They've gone flat.
Ah, just a cold sausage, mate. No one likes a cold sausage.
No. It's like a cold chip. It's just reverse potato at that point.
Well, we'll hope that BetBoom can reverse their fortunes and pick up the pace here. I mean, again, we were discussing before that BetBoom, like, their T sides are typically pretty well ironed. They have a lot of versatility, a lot of moving parts. When Danis and Nafani, between the two of them, have 5 frags, and we're moving into round 18,
Yeah.
it paints a pretty bleak picture.
Doesn't help. Definitely doesn't help. And Fnatic looking pretty drilled, to be honest with you. This man's been having a hell of a game. Only good for the first frag, but Crims will look to turn the tides. Stabbing back and forth towards middle, but falls. And it is a 3 versus 3. A winnable round, Vince, for BetBoom still. But it's not an easy one. QB's HE could actually be pretty lethal. And you've got the backstab for Mattis. Oh, he can break the smoke with it, sure, but it's not right on target, so they bleed in through camera and take the site.
Yeah, just hit the side of the wall, unfortunately. But Afro, he's so quick in those engagements, man. He gets into these positions where you assume he's going to die because he's got the AWP and it's such an awkward spot, and then he just nails somebody instantly. And now a 3-on-2 retake. Danis 2-14. He's had a really rough day at the office. From the neutral and me, I hope he does work here. I hope he gets some kills. I hate to see players have a rough time like this. However, realistically, Fnatic are in prime position to get this done. The bomb is ticking away, though. Kyron may not need any backup. He is the one-man army they've been looking for. QB next up gets the kill, but there's not enough time. Kyron's done enough.
A second round where Kyron has been the linchpin of the A site. Wasted enough time to secure that one. But here's the raw facts. Here's the top and bottom of it. BetBoom have 6 rounds to their name to equalize the scoreline and force this into an overtime to even have a chance to win this opening game. They'll need 6 on the spin without a 0 mistake. And what's worrying as well is when you look at the cash they've got to work with. Yeah, you can rebuy into it, but it's not going to be amazing. There's a few gaps in terms of the weaponry. A couple Galils, Mac 10, and limited utility on a few of the players. Whereas Fnatic, they're sitting pretty. Afro still gets the AWP. He gets what he wants, and he causes carnage with this scope.
Playing that same anti-flash setup. Not required, though. They get aggressive instead. It's actually Crimson takes the initiative. 3 kills and a 4th as well. Winding back the years and destroying BetBoom in the process. He gets the ace. He gets Fnatic the win. That's more like it.
Crims is back, baby. What a way to finish the game, Vince. Man, Crims in a Fnatic jersey, getting himself an ace just off the back of basically playing gun game, running at them.